In 1978, a Harvard psychologist ran an experiment in a copy shop. She approached strangers waiting in line and asked to cut in. Sometimes she gave a reason, sometimes she didn't, and sometimes she gave a reason that wasn't really a reason at all. The results changed how we understand human compliance forever. What she discovered were 6 words, and those 6 words work on virtually everyone, including you, right now, probably more than you realize. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what they are, why they work, and more importantly, how to recognize when they're being used on you. Ellen Langer and her team at Harvard ran 3 versions of the same request. Version 1. A researcher approaches someone waiting at the machine and says, "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine?" No reason, just a request. Compliance rate, 60%. That's actually pretty good. Most people are decent, but watch what happens when you add a reason. Version 2. Same request, 1 addition. "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush?" Compliance rate, 94%. That makes intuitive sense. Someone's in a hurry, you let them go ahead. The reason is legitimate. The brain processes it, accepts it, and produces cooperative behavior. But now, here's version 3, and I want you to actually think about this before I give you the number. "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I have to make some copies?" Read that again. Because I have to make some copies. That is not a reason. That is a restatement of the situation. Everyone standing at that machine has to make copies. The reason contains 0 new information. Compliance rate, 93%. Nearly identical to the real reason. 1 percentage point separating a genuine justification from a meaningless circular statement. The word "because" entirely on its own was doing almost all the work. Langer called this mindless compliance. The brain, upon hearing that word, enters a kind of automatic deference mode. It doesn't wait to evaluate the content. The trigger fires, the response executes. Robert Cialdini called these click-whirr reactions, like a tape being played. Trigger in, behavior out. But why does the human brain do this? And how deep does it go? That's where it gets uncomfortable.
Your brain is the most complex object in the known universe. It is also, by necessity, extraordinarily lazy. At any given moment, your nervous system receives roughly 11 million bits of information per second from your senses, your environment. The number your conscious mind can actually process? 40. The rest is handled automatically by systems running on pattern recognition. This isn't a flaw. It's the reason you can drive a car while having a conversation. Automatic processing is the brain's greatest engineering achievement. But it has a cost. Automatic systems run on shortcuts, heuristics, mental rules of thumb that produce good enough answers fast. Most of the time, they serve you well. Occasionally, they can be gamed. Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman called them System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast and automatic. System 2 is slow and analytical. You use System 2 to solve a math problem. System 1 handles almost everything else. Robert Cialdini studied the triggers that send System 1 into autopilot, and the most reliable trigger he found wasn't a look or a social dynamic, it was a word. Consider a jewelry store in Arizona. A store owner couldn't sell her turquoise. She left a note to mark it down to half price. Her assistant misread it and doubled the price instead. The entire stock sold out over the weekend. The jewelry hadn't changed. The customers had. Because a higher price activated a shortcut. Expensive means valuable. The trigger fired, the behavior followed. Because works the same way. It is a linguistic trigger that says a reason has been provided. Therefore, compliance is appropriate. The content of that reason, almost secondary. Which brings us to the part that should concern you. This trigger isn't just in labs and jewelry stores. It's in the systems you interact with every single day.
Once you know this trigger exists, you start seeing it everywhere. Here are 5 places it is being deliberately deployed right now at scale. 1. Charity fundraising. Please donate today because children in this region go without clean water. The because clause isn't new info. It adds no data. It adds compliance. The sector has known this for decades. Redundant reasons increase donations. 2. Subscription cancellations. Are you sure? Because you'll lose your data? This is a fusion of loss aversion and the trigger. It reframes a loss you already knew about into a reason to stay. Notice where that hesitation lives, right after the word because. 3. Workplace requests. Managers get higher compliance even when the reason is circular. I need you to cover this shift because I already told the client someone would be there. Your brain doesn't analyze the bad planning. It registers authority, trigger, comply. 4. Political messaging. Vote yes because our community deserves better. That's an aspiration masquerading as a justification. It contains zero evidence, yet it consistently raises agreement rates and reduces analytical pushback. It just works. 5. Authority gaps. Doctors, parents, or police. The larger the gap, the less content the because needs. Take this medication because it will help your recovery. No mechanism, no evidence, just the authority and the trigger. It's sufficient. This isn't a conspiracy. It's a brain trying to conserve energy. But knowing that it's predictable, that is where your defense begins.
Here is the most important thing Cialdini documented that most people overlook. These triggers lose their power the moment you consciously notice them. Psychologist William McGuire spent decades studying what he called inoculation theory, the idea that exposing someone to a weakened version of a manipulation technique in advance dramatically reduces its effectiveness later. His research found that inoculation against persuasion techniques can reduce their impact by up to 75%, which is exactly what this video has been doing for the past 7 minutes. You are now inoculated, at least partially, against the because trigger. Here's what that looks like in practice. When you hear the word because in a request, a message, or a piece of persuasive content, treat it as a flag, not a green light. Ask yourself one question. Would this reason make sense to a stranger who has no relationship with the person asking? If the answer is no, if the reason is circular, emotional, vague, or just a restatement of the request, you are experiencing a trigger, not a genuine justification. You can still choose to comply, but it should be your choice, not your brain's automatic output. The second thing worth understanding is the ethical dimension of this. Knowing how the because trigger works does not make using it manipulation. Cialdini was clear on this distinction. When you have a genuine reason and you attach because to it, you are communicating efficiently. The brain's shortcut is being used in the way it was designed to function. The difference between persuasion and manipulation is not the technique. It is whether the reason is real. Use this with that in mind. You now know something that most people, including many people who consider themselves psychologically sophisticated, have never stopped to examine. That is not a small thing.
The because trigger is one of 6 core principles Cialdini documented in his work on influence, and if this one made you rethink your autopilot, the next 5 will change how you look at every familiar situation. The next video covers social proof, specifically the version linked to financial crashes and aviation disasters. It's published now, linked in the description and in the card on your screen. If this was useful, not just interesting, but actually useful, that's the standard this channel holds itself to. Every video here is built around one goal, giving you something you can use the same day you watch it. Subscribe if that's what you're looking for. I'll see you in the next one.